Thank you. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, good noon, good night, good dusk, good desk. Welcome to The Long Shot. It is a podcast. I am one of your hosts. My name is Sean Conroy. Also with me on the show today, as often as ever, as always, Amber Kenny is here.
Hello. Oh, and Smudgy.
Smudgy.
You gotta knock that out. He was being so good until we said we were recording.
Not a fan of the podcast. Smudgy does not care for the podcast.
I go back and because the YouTube of the episode that he appeared on, somebody put the exact time code where he like makes his weird sound, and occasionally Jeff and I just watch that. It's like looking at baby videos or something.
Let's see our boy when he became a star.
He goes, bah!
That was like the first time Little Orphan Annie appeared on The Tonight Show. I think I said this before, but I read a I don't know where, a comment on some podcast, probably a Besser Improv for Humans podcast, where somebody wrote, like, I think Sean Conroy is really funny, but his references are, I don't know what kind of life he's lived because I just don't understand.
Is he a time traveler?
And like, they compared it to when, I forget who, one of the like, who's the chef with with the spiky hair?
Guy Fieri.
He's like, it's like when Guy Fieri talks about studying in France for 10 years. I'm just like, what was this guy's life?
When did the hair happen? Before or after France?
Right. But like, yeah, whatever. I do make weird references. What can I say? It tickles me. So anyway, the first time that Little Orphan Annie was on The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson in 1936, it was an amazing episode. worth
the actual Little Orphan Annie.
Yeah, exactly. The one that the character was based on.
Sure.
It is, of course, we are recording this on a holiday, which I was not aware of. I felt very disconnected from the world this morning. I went out to get some food, and I was going to go into this little store I really like over in Los Feliz and pick up a thing or two. And I got there, and the store was closed, and I was like, what is going on? What's this all about? And, of course, it turns out
Canadian Thanksgiving.
Today is... Well, it is. It is Columbus Day and Indigenous Peoples Day, which is an interesting combination of...
Well, I think there's a cause and effect there.
Yeah, it's like,
Sorry.
Today is Hitler's birthday and Rosh Hashanah. Happy day, everybody. Yeah. But, yeah, I thought that was a weird... combination of things.
It's weird that people still close for Columbus Day.
Well, they're closing for Indigenous Peoples Day.
Okay, good.
They would be open for Columbus Day.
Yeah.
It is the happy Merry Christmas and Happy Good Friday. It's the same the day that Christ was born and the day he died. It's the...
Oh, no.
Well, it is the 4th of July and Election Day. It is the day that the framers decided this would be the greatest democracy in the history of the world, and the day that is decimated. Anyway, so the store was closed, which was very disappointing, but at least I only went there to go to this little store that's over there.
Well, Los Feliz isn't an easy place to park, to go there for no reason.
Right. And it's not, it's not that far from where I live, but it's like a 15-minute drive from where I live.
It's a hop, skip, and a jump.
Right. It's a skip at least with a hop and a jump. Well, I don't know what order you're supposed to do those things in. But the store was closed, and but at least there's a good breakfast place over there. So I got a couple of breakfast tacos.
Nice.
What am I turning into Jamie?
You went to Home State.
I did. I love Home State.
It's good.
Tijuana Panther is my jam.
What's in it?
I couldn't even tell you. It's like brisket and cabbage. Coleslaw.
It's like an Irish dinner.
I don't know what else. Potatoes, boiled potatoes. Anyway, it's good. And I usually get some kind of like, all those breakfast tacos have eggs, like bacon and eggs, sausage and eggs and eggs. And I didn't do that. I got no eggs. I got beans.
Oh, you got like a lunch taco.
And it was tremendous. Then I got home, I opened my fridge, and I saw that I had a pint of strawberries, like I'm fucking Captain Queeg or something. So I cut up some.
Wait, who?
I don't understand these references. I hope there's definitely some people listening to this who know. Captain Queeg was the captain on the ship in the Cane Mutiny, and at one point he has strawberries in the fridge, and he's very excited about the strawberries, and somebody eats the strawberries.
Oh.
And he loses. I mean, he's already like going crazy, and he loses his mind about the strawberries. And Humphrey Bogart plays Captain Queeg in the movie, and he's like, "Wow, we need to figure out who ate the strawberries."
I mean, they can ward off scurvy. They've got a lot of vitamin C.
It's true.
So it's an important.
I don't think that's why he was excited about them, but that's absolutely true. A lot of the old time British Navy, they had a lot of oranges, but they really wanted strawberries. They just couldn't make it happen. But the world is falling apart pretty much. Mm-hmm. A lot of horrific stuff going on. And I mean, I was thinking about this because I heard a thing today that distressed me. Many things. But no, I heard somebody saying that so I'm talking obviously about the Hamas and the Israelis and, all the stuff that's going on in the Middle East, which, by the way, it was my understanding that
that was solved. Yeah.
He was like, weren't they trying to nominate him for the Nobel Peace Prize because he had solved Middle East peace? I know I did a write-in vote for him. So
it's like the Kids' Choice Awards. You just vote online.
But yeah, he solved all that. So I don't know why they're still going back and forth about it because he fixed it. But
right.
And I think he got the Presidential Medal of Freedom or something. I mean, maybe he just got a bonus of some sort.
He got a lot of money, I know, at one point.
Like a bonus in his check. And he got security clearance, which was great. But anyway, apparently the Iranians are involved in backing Hamas. And so I heard somebody today saying, I would not be surprised at the extent to which Israel will react and go after the Iranians for their involvement in this, including it would not surprise me if they used a nuclear weapon on Iran. And it's fucking scary. Like,
yeah,
it just feels, I mean, it has felt for a while like we're living in a really dark, wild time. Mm-hmm. But this feels like it's kicked that up a notch. Like, I don't know. When I was a kid, back when little orphan Eric showed up on the Tonight Show. There was always that was the thing that hung over the world at that time, was the threat of nuclear war. I mean, we used to have, drills there were not active shooter drills when I was in school. There were nuclear war drills where you would go down in the basement and put your head up against the wall with your hands over your head so that when they found your shadow burned into the side of the building after the bomb dropped, it would be in this shape. I don't understand why that was, but then that sort of went away. It felt like that kind of ended in
the Cold War.
Yeah, like 1989, the wall comes down and everybody, Eastern Europe opens up and the Soviet Union separates, but it feels like that stuff is back, and I just, it feels. I mean, I first of all, let me just say that any fact-based information on this show,
take it with a grain of salt.
It could be nothing. Like, there's no way.
Don't cite this as your source.
Not a history podcast.
Your paper, please.
Yeah, like I have no idea what I'm talking about.
We're all like, I read a tweet that had a headline.
Right. Yeah. Also, like, I saw an answer on Jeopardy once that I remember. That's where.
Also, Twitter doesn't even exist anymore.
Right. Oh, God. But Twitter, apparently in this whole thing, it's just become like the misinformation on Twitter has gone through the roof just in the last days because of this stuff.
On X.
On X, yeah. But it just, again, not knowing much about anything, but knowing the little I do know about how World War I started.
Okay, let's go.
Look, the Black Man of Serbia assassinated Archduke Ferdinand.
I heard that before.
And but what it reminds me of is how World War I, they say it was like just a bunch of misunderstandings and whatever, and like this country was allied with this country, so when this country got into it with this country, these people could get in and whatever, and all of a sudden within 2 months, and it took 2 months, but within a couple of months the entire world was at war.
But that was all like letters and shit, like
right.
Wouldn't everything go quicker now?
Right. Now they can just read it on X and be like, well, I guess we're at war with them. Anyway, it feels
not good.
Not good. And of course, it's obviously horrific. There's so much about it that's completely horrific. But I don't know. I don't really even know what I'm trying to say. But it just feels like every time I wake up in the morning, there's another thing that's really fucked up that's happening in the world, whether it's in this country or in the world at large, that is unexpected and disconcerting in some way. So I think that's a great place to start the show. So
the vibes are right.
Yeah. Boy, I did ask Kat the other night. Talk about the vibes are right. I did ask Kat the other night, and it was, I hosted the show. This other guy and I came out to host the show.
Is this the one that you talked about, or did you get to do it again?
No, this is another one.
Oh, nice. I mean, that's cool because you were stating that it felt like you got to do it infrequently, and the fact that it happened twice.
Here's what I would say is two things. We'll see if I get to do it again anytime soon.
That glass is always half empty.
But also, I think what it was, here was my sense of it, without getting into it. There was somebody doing monologues at the show who is somebody that I have known for a very long time. Not well, but like, I know this person, and my sense was that because this person was on the show, that they were like, who do you want to have in the cast? And this person was like, what about this? What about Sean? He's somebody I know from back in the day. So that's how I ended up on this show. It wasn't like, oh, he did such a great job last week, let's have him again in 2 weeks. But we'll see. Yes, you're right. Let the glass. I mean, we don't even have to have a glass. It could be a saucer, and let's just let it spread out. So
pour it right in your mouth.
Yeah. But I always like to talk to the audience. I said this before. I always like to talk to the audience at the top of the show and say, like, what's going on? How are you guys doing? What's anybody here from out of town? The classic but we always try to get people to tell, or I always try to get people to tell, the royal we I'll use, try to get people to tell stories, funny, interesting stories from their life. Like, did something interesting happen to you? And we had somebody this week who told a story about her friend. This was so fucked up. It was her friend's birthday, and somebody brought her friend like a bunch of chocolate-covered mushrooms. So
like magic mushrooms?
Yeah. So there's a bunch of people there celebrating this guy's birthday, and somebody shows up with a bag full of mushrooms.
Okay.
The guy takes a couple of the mushrooms and is like, "Let's do mushrooms." And everybody else was like, "No, I'm not. I don't." So this poor guy was tripping on mushrooms at his own birthday party when everybody else was just sober.
It's kind of fun.
It sounds like a nightmare to me. But then the second person who told the story, and they were a little more reluctant than usual. Mm-hmm. So we were kind of going, yeah, it doesn't matter.
There's going to be something good here.
Yeah, you guys, whatever, So
the silence. I will not talk about this on a podcast immediately after.
So, right. Oh, I always say that, like talking in a room full of strangers. But they were like, yeah, we live across the street from an Airbnb, and there's always people in and out of there, and they're having huge parties.
Nightmare. Yeah.
And I was like, oh, God. And then she goes, but this one guy was there for a couple of days last week, and we were like, oh, he's quiet. It's great. Like, we're not, whatever. And it turns out then they look out the window and there's like police and an ambulance and bleed and died. Yes.
Oh my God.
She tells this story at the beginning of the show, and it just like, it's like popping a balloon in terms of like, this is a comedy show.
Yeah.
Of a guy who died of an overdose in an Airbnb. And we were just like, okay, like, great. Thank you for participating. And,
she was reluctant in her defense.
Yeah. Well, not as reluctant as she should have been. But so it was like, talk about digging yourself a hole at the top of a show. Mm. And we tried to like get one more person to tell a story. Like, now everybody knows that we're in a fucking deep hole. So it's like,
right.
How are we going to get out of this hole? Let's have somebody tell us just a funny.
Oh no.
Yeah. And I mean, it was ultimately fine, but like, the next person raises their hand. She's like, I got a story. And it's like, okay, what's your horrific? Yeah. And it was like, well, I have a roommate who's kind of gross, and they went to, and I don't even know, it still cracks me up that this was important to the story. They went to Michigan, and then they went to Florida, and then they came back and they had fleas when they came back to the apartment. So we got fleas in the apartment. And it's like,
are you blaming the whole state of Michigan? And
that's what I said. I was like, so Florida and Michigan both have large flea populations, and you pick things up on the way. But also, like, this is a person in a theater full of people saying, my roommate had fleas, and it's like, Smudgy immediately is like, shut the fuck up about fleas. But anyway, the show ended up being really fun, and we actually got a standing ovation at the end of the show from one guy. One guy stood up and was cheering. So I actually, afterwards, I was like, I should have taken a picture of that guy, because I just thought it was so funny that one guy in like the second row was standing up and nobody got up to join. Like, you know how sometimes
yeah, you just get peer pressure.
Yeah, and nope, nothing.
I forget who I was talking to recently, and they were saying how at the end of like almost any, I want to say Broadway show, but even like a Broadway show that's in Los Angeles, like any that level type show, it feels like mandatory that you stand and applaud. I forget who I was talking to.
We've talked about this before, where I will not do that.
No, it must be you. It must have been you.
I mean, I
But it's just,
remember specifically going to see Les Mis on Broadway with my family,
and you were like,
and somehow, like, and when I say with my family, I mean all my brothers and some of their wives and my parents and everybody. And somehow, I don't remember how this happened. A couple of the tickets were up in the mezzanine, and everybody else was down in the orchestra. So, guess who got stuck sitting up in the mezzanine?
it's sometimes a better seat for a musical because you get to see the whole picture.
Right.
I'm just saying.
That's fair. And I always try to see the glasses half full. So thank you for helping.
No, whatever. I can get into it in a second. Jeff and I recently, sometimes we watch YouTube on our TV, especially if it's like we're waiting for food to be delivered and we know we only have 15 minutes. So it's like we're not going to put on a movie, we're not going to put on a TV show. And so
you know that you can stop those things and then start them again, right?
No. I need it to end. But one that was recommended to us was like how to find the best seat for a Broadway show. And so we were like, let's watch it. And then it was like the most boring, obvious motherfucking information. It was like, but one of them was like the mezzanine is sometimes better than the orchestra because you might be just like this the whole time and not see the full like choreography. But the other ones were like, there might be something in front of you. Like it was very funny. It was like how to get good seat tickets. Don't get it from a scalper. Like it was very funny. It was very funny. It was almost helpful.
Don't sit behind a tall person.
Right. It was like sit where you like to sit.
Yeah. But anyway, so Les Mis ended and everybody was like, yeah. And it was like, I thought it was good. You know? I enjoyed it. I didn't go mine. It just felt
are you saving that?
It felt like everybody was doing it obligated, not because of the quality of the show.
Right.
Like we paid so
not because they were moved to.
It better be an incredible experience, you know?
Right.
And when we saw Book of Mormon,
when it's like
yes. Mm-hmm. When we saw Book of Mormon, I was like
you were like,
up,
you took off your shirt.
So I was like, I was turning everybody around us and going, get up, wave your hands in the air and wave them like you just don't care. By the way, that idea of the video about how to get good seats at Broadway or at how to get good theater seats. Just reminds me of how we live in a world full of influencers. Like everybody wants to be a fucking influencer at this point. So everybody's looking for their angle. And most people's angle apparently now is how to be an influencer. Like that's the way to be an influencer is to make videos about how to be a good influencer, like how to get more followers. But it feels like with something like that, somebody's like, what's my niche? My niche is how to sit in good seats, you know?
Well, and it's also funny that I don't know. I'm torn whether it's good or bad because on some level, like, just go to Broadway and figure it out. But we live in the other side of it, the audience side of it, that people are like Googling, like, where to sit Broadway. Like the fact that there was a market for that is fascinating.
Yeah.
Like people have to know everything ahead of time. And I get it a little bit, like anxiety is real.
But people did it for a long time before you could Google where to sit. You know, you just went and you were like, I guess these are our seats. I didn't know where we were sitting, but I mean, know.
It's a pretty big investment to like be scared. Like, what if we just spent a lot of money and we did it wrong? I don't know.
I feel like life is about taking chances and seeing what comes up. And if you look at things with the glass half full, it's always something good. You know, what if you do sit behind a tall person? Then you go home and you sketch the back of a neck because that's what you've been looking at. And you're like, this is a great representation of what people look like from the back in this little area. And that reminds me, I might start an influencer account about how to sketch the back of people's necks and see.
a good idea.
Get a lot of followers. All right. We always start the show with a segment that we call Checking In. So let's start today with Amber checking in.
Yeah. It's funny that we've gotten this far because my vibes are strange for the state of the world. I had today off, not because of a holiday. I took the entire week off. I'm going to a friend's wedding at the end of the week, and I just had time off. And
Today
the whole summer, I really
as
couldn't take a lot of time off because I was doing 2 jobs. So the office was not closed today.
Oh, okay.
Today counts as a vacation day. So I took the whole week off, and I did something today, which is very apropos of what we were just talking about, that I've been wanting to do for a very long time. Like I actively wanted to, but then was nervous to. Do you ever get this? Do you know what I'm talking about? And
every time I skydive, yes.
And there's no reason why it would make me. Anyway, I went to a Korean day spa. Like I literally, like my hair is still wet. I just got back. And it was lovely. It was great. But I guess I get why I was nervous, because the things that freaked me out were truly like, where do I park? Like it's all the, like, how do I physically get in the door? And then,
because you dress for the spa before you go, right?
Wait, what?
You dress for the spa before you go. Like Korean day spa, you're just naked the whole time. So
yeah.
You're always prepared for that. So you're like, how can I park as close to the door as possible?
Oh, right. I came naked. Yes. But also, you hinted at it, but like people who are like, yeah, you got to go. It's great. The whole first floor that you go on is just women, and you have to be naked the whole time. And then you get on an elevator, and you put on shorts and a t-shirt that they give you. And then there's all these other rooms, but it's co-ed. And then you go, like, everything they said, I was like, okay, I'm scared that I'll do it. Like I'll accidentally be on the wrong floor and like the wrong clothes or something. Anyway, and then I was like, for a while, I was like, maybe I should go with a friend for the first time. But it's also it's a very, very intimate thing to be like, hey, do you want to spend the day naked with me? You know, like it's.
Oh, that's why I called you back and said I didn't want to go.
So I went, and I was also debating, they have like services there, like massages and like body scrubs, and I was debating whether I was going to do that, and I decided to just go like baby step it. Like I was just going to the spa and checking it all out and getting the lay of the land, and that's what I did. And at first I was like, what? This was a bad idea, because I was just like in the hot tub, like naked by myself, and everyone else is like,
hi, I'm Kareem. What's your name?
Right. Everyone else is like kind of in groups of people, like chatting. And I'm like, oh my, am I like or there were people who were, because it was also strange because my inclination is to people watch, but it's so insanely inappropriate to people watch people.
Doreen, look, that woman is by herself and she's staring at us.
I know.
And she has opera glasses.
But then there was people that I was like, oh man, they're cool. Like they do this all the time. Like they're by themselves, but they had like everything down. Like they had a big water bottle and they had maybe a book. I was like, oh, a book. That would have been so smart. And yeah, they give you shorts and a t-shirt and like slippers that you have to wear to go to the co-ed floor. And
you can't bring your own shorts and t-shirt.
No, you have to wear theirs. Yeah. Like truly.
No, I know.
And I went up to the co-ed floor, and I was like, maybe I'll just check it out because it's weird. I don't know. But I was like, I loved the co-ed floor. There was a restaurant, and I had some of the best soup I've ever had in my whole life.
Oh, great soups at the spas.
And there was like a clay sauna. So I was like, oh, I get it. It's a room made out of clay. Yes. but more than that, the floor is little like clay balls. Like it's almost like a ball pen at McDonald's, but it's tiny clay balls. So they're all hot because they get heated up in the sauna, and you lay in them, and they're really noisy, but I loved that one quite a bit.
Does anybody say things like, my balls are really warm right now, or anything?
Probably. Well, that was the other thing. There was like nap areas with heated floors and mats. And I was like, okay. And I laid down there for a second, but there was like a little girl just like fully playing a video game really loudly. And I was like, oh, okay. It felt like I've been to spas that are very like zhuzhy, like silence is golden. It felt more relaxed than that, which I didn't mind.
The ones that were zhuzhy were not Korean spas, right? Like
correct.
Into those, yeah. And I'm like, okay, fine, I'll shut off my video game.
But I really loved it, and it's so silly, but I'm proud of myself for going, because yeah. I was like, oh, on Monday I could go to the Korean date, because it's also insanely close to me. It's like a mile away, and I could go. And then throughout the day I was like, well, maybe I kept having excuses not to. I was like, Amber, just go. And I'm so glad I did. I feel great. I can't wait to go back and get like a full like massage and the whole deal.
And so could you conceivably go with Jeff, and he would go to the other floor, and then you guys could meet up and
have soup
and shorts? Yeah.
Yes. There was like, I was eating soup. That was the other cool thing. I don't know.
So far it's been all very cool things. So please.
I don't know if I'm being like offensive.
Stop saying like, so many cool things.
So like wowed by another culture, but in the little restaurant there was like a section with tables and chairs, but then there was just like a step, and it wasn't even like it's probably not ADA compliant in the least, because it's like a big step. Like it was like stepping onto a stage almost. But that whole floor, they had tables low to the ground and then chairs, but it was just like a I don't know how to explain this, but it was on the ground and it just had a seat. So you were basically sitting on the ground, and the ground was
like a couch or a chair. Like a chair is on the ground. You know that, right?
Yeah, that's what I knew you were going to do this. Like my butt, there was like, I was sitting on a seat that was thin, and then it's the ground. Like you're basically on the ground, and
so no legs on the chair.
Correct. That would have
legless chair.
That would have maybe helped with my
like a booster seat, but on the ground.
Yes, and then the ground is heated. It's like a tile.
Clay balls.
No, that was a different room.
Oh, okay.
So that it just like felt kind of cool and Korean and comfortable to be like, I'm sitting in my shorts and my t-shirt and my weird slippers, and I'm sitting on the ground. But around me, it's like groups of friends and like couples eating. And I'm just eating my soup by myself like a weirdo.
Doreen, she followed us up here from downstairs, and she's still staring at us.
I was like, book, next time book. Because like before the soup came, I was just like.
She's trying to make it look like she's eating soup, but she's actually just observing us. I think we might be under surveillance of some sort. Or she's just creepy.
But yeah, it was really, really great, and it's really close to home. And so now that I've like pulled the Band-Aid off, that is something that I can do again. It's open 24 hours a day.
And how long were you there for?
Probably like 2 hours. I could have been longer, but I needed to get back to podcast.
Right. Well, we are going to do a live episode from the Korean spa next.
Oh man.
No, I've never been to a Korean spa, so I gotta check that out.
You gotta check it out. I highly recommend it.
I wouldn't do the naked thing. Like I would just be fully clothed in there. No. I'd go in, but
Oh, they won't let you. Like that's the other weird thing is like
think
they're like
we can discuss it. I think we can.
they're like it's mandatory nude, and I was like, what? Like in what? Why? Like what be the reason?
But I feel like that's unenforceable. Like you can't just
They'll kick you out.
Well, let them try, okay? I know a thing or two about being kicked out of places.
But the other thing that was funny is that all of the women were wearing the same yellow t-shirt and all of the men were wearing the same white t-shirt. Like it felt very
like 1984 or something.
Yeah. And I kept being like, oh, they must work here. No, I'm also wearing that shirt.
Welcome to your new life, Amber. Yeah, I remember when I was in where was I? I was in Hungary about 10 years ago, and they had, I mean, I'm blanking on the name of the city. What's the capital of Hungary?
Damn it.
Is it Perth or Melbourne?
No, those are both Australia. Wait, when did you go to Hungary? We recorded a podcast this whole time.
It was like 2012, I think.
Oh, okay.
So it was while the podcast was going on. So I probably have already told this story, but there's Hungary.
It's Budapest.
Budapest, right? Buda and Pest, two cities. Yeah. I knew it was two cities, but I couldn't remember. Jesus Christ. Yes, of course. Budapest. But anyway, Budapest is on top of a lot of hot springs. So one of the things in Budapest is they have these bathhouses you can go to where there's lots of different temperature baths that you can go into.
I mean, that was the naked part, was there's a warm bath, a hot bath, a cold bath.
Right. So, but this is Hungarian, not Korean. So it's, and there's none of this clay balls bullshit.
Honestly, best part. Like, you're missing out, Hungary.
The seats come all the way up to your butt. You don't have to go down to them.
All the way up to your butt. That's a high seat.
But I didn't know about this until I got there, and I was reading a travel guide, and it was like, you can just go and they will give you a swimsuit to wear. Like you can rent a swimsuit. Like that's like a normal thing is what it sounded like in this guidebook.
Oh no. I feel like we're setting up for, they're like, sir, where are your pants?
So no, it wasn't that bad. But so I went to this place and I go in, and I mean, I don't know if you know a lot about me, but you probably know I don't speak Hungarian or any other, I mean, I know Al Hrabowski was the mad Hungarian. He was a pitcher in the major leagues back in the 1970s. Where do these references come from? He had a great big, like one of those mustaches.
Oh, cool. Like
Hercule Poirot. Yeah. But anyway, I made it understood to them. I was like, I understand you guys rent swimsuits. Can I rent a swimsuit? And they were like, it took so long
right.
to know what I was saying. And then they were like, okay. And this one guy was like,
just buy one, maybe.
But he was like, come with me. And then we walked about 7 miles into this building.
Uh-huh.
There was we had to go through where all the baths were, and there was no way to get around them really. So except for like very narrow dividers. So I was like balancing on these slippery things.
Well, and he's very used to
and there's people in the baths, and I was like afraid that I was going to fall in, and it was steamy. It just was crazy. And then we get to this laundry room way down in the bowels of the spa. I guess I don't know what it's called, and you never want to be in the bowels of anything, you don't want to, bowels are not, that's not where you don't want to. And so he gives me this swimsuit, and of course it's like 7 sizes too small,
Oh, I thought you were going to go the other way.
But... No. There's no people anywhere who are like, my size, you know? So I'm like, okay, here I go. But then it was the same thing where I go and I sit in the bath and everybody else is with a bunch of people
Right.
and chattering away in Hungarian. And I'm just like, hey, everybody, how's it going? Do they serve soup here? You know? But at least I went. At least I went, you know?
Yeah.
It was wintertime because there was a big, like, Olympic-sized pool outside too. Hungarians, I don't know if you know this, but Hungarians have been very successful in the Olympics in the swimming category over the years. They're big, big swimmers in Hungary. So they had this gigantic pool, and it was just too cold, you know. So, I'm staying in. Also, you know, I didn't want to be walking around the pool deck in my tiny little swimsuit.
Well, like playing chicken by yourself.
Yeah. Marco, there's nobody here.
I'm winning, I guess. Well, I grew up at a hot spring. You know that, right?
No.
Like the community that I grew up in, the reason that a lot of people settled there, like it has a great history, that land, but there are natural hot springs. And it was right above Glen Ivy Hot Springs, which were created because there was natural hot springs there. And so I grew up in like a spa or a spa adjacent situation at all times. And so I think there was also something very home and familiar about today for that reason.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I do that too sometimes where I just go somewhere and have two adults scream at me because I'm fucking things up. That feels very homey to me, you know? They go, why are you not doing better in school? And I'm like, thank you. All right. Well, I was going to do a whole thing, but I feel like I've already talked enough about a variety of horrific stuff. So why don't we get into parting shots? And since we're doing parting shots, let's start today with Amber.
Cool. Again, I started with the spa day as my checking in because my vibes are not matching this. Like, I feel good. And so it's going to be, I'm delivering this in a weird way.
And you're saying in the situation in the world, you're the opposite of that right now.
Well, and what I'm about to talk about. But I'm feeling really good, and that's okay. Like, both things can be true. People are complicated.
Very
I could be present in my body and dealing with something. But DreamWorks just had another mass round of layoffs. I was fine. I survived, I guess. I don't know if I was fine.
It sounds like a reality show.
Right? I got the rose. But it's, I mean, really, really sad, obviously, and hard and scary. And it means I'm going to be taking on more work without a raise or promotion, like story of my life. But the thing that I found interesting is because I've gone through this several times now, and I know that it's really hard and scary, like personally, and then you feel really bad for the people who are laid off. But what I didn't account for this round, so many of the people on my direct team and like my employee are very, very young. This is like my employee's first job. And I wasn't braced for how hard they were going to take it. Mm-hmm. And they were fine. But it makes sense. I mean, they're young. It's their first job. We're sort of drawn to corporate America because it's stable. And to have that kind of taken away out of the picture, it's really scary. And so I had to spend a lot of last week just being like I get it.
Have you ever tried improv?
Yeah. But like, yes, it is scary and you are fine. Like, both things are true. It is complicated to be a human being. But I also already had taken this week off, and thank God I did.
So all these people are let go, but they have to stick around for a few weeks to finish out their.
I don't know if they're going to.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see what I come back to.
Yeah. Could be just a wasteland when you get there.
Mm-hmm.
What if you show up and there's like a lot of clay balls on the floor? Like people are
yes.
Yes, we're replacing all the intermediary workers with clay balls. No, that sucks. I feel bad for them. I mean, getting fired is not fun.
No.
It's just not a good feeling.
Well, and it's not a stable time.
No.
Kind of like expanding on what you were saying before of just like it's scary every direction you look.
Everything is very difficult right now. I had a meeting the other day, a lunch meeting with somebody, and I don't know if you know about lunch meetings, we got lunch at this.
Wait, slow down.
It wasn't just a meeting, there was lunch.
It's not just a
club. Like he got like a protein bowl of like eggs and chicken, chicken of some sort. And I got a bacon and egg sandwich, and we got 2 coffees, and I was like, I'll cover it. And it was $60. It's just like,
eggs are really expensive things.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Crazy. But you got to remind these guys. Like I was hired to co-host a show. We've talked about this before. To co-host a show on VH1 in like 2001. I auditioned. I was fantastic in the audition. They loved me.
Pre 9/11.
It was pre 9/11.
Or during 9/11.
It was my 9/11. No, it was Mark Maron was the host of the show, and I was like a co-host of the show, and it was a celebrity panel show for VH1 where people would come in and do jokes about music videos and stuff. And I it's funny to look back at and realize like this is the mistake I made, because what it was I had 2 friends who were writing for the show. They were writing jokes for the co-hosts and for the celebrities. But I was also writing my own jokes that I thought were better than their jokes. They were, because they were my jokes, not their jokes. But when we did the when we did the first taping of the show, these guys had given me a bunch of jokes, and they were my friends who were stand-ups who were just getting their first writing jobs, and I felt obligated to make them look good and do their jokes and my jokes. So it was like
the tone was all over the place.
Yeah, and I didn't need to do their joke. Like I should have just been like, I don't fucking care. I'm doing my own thing, And so they came to me. One of the executives came to me backstage after the first shoot and was like, listen, because the production company loved me, VH1 was not sold, right? So the executive from VH1, who was actually a guy I knew, came to me backstage and was like, hey, listen, we need you to be having more fun out there, like you're just a guy having fun at a party.
And you're like, that's not me.
Well, I literally said to him, I go, just so you know, I am not a guy having fun at a party, even when I am a guy having fun at a party. That's me. And
yeah. It's funny to cast you and Mark Maron, and they wanted party vibes. Okay.
Well, let's just say the show didn't last long. So then I taped an episode, and this was the famous story where my manager called me on a Sunday morning, my Jackie Mason style manager, my Jewish manager from Queens. And he was like, Sean, I have terrible, terrible news, but I don't want to leave it on your machine. And as soon as I heard that, I was like, I knew I was fired because I was like, what else could it be? Like, what other,
Right.
did he call to tell me that my cousin died, you know?
Right.
Um, but anyway, so I got fired, and it was a big deal because, like, I had gone to, I was teaching classes at UCB at the time, and I had gone to all my classes and said, "Sorry, I have to leave. I got the job," and everybody was like,
"I made it."
Hey. Yeah. No, that's exactly right. Like, I was like, I made it. I'm a success, and I do in the long run. I do feel like you got to understand that if you're fired, you will never be a success because.
Oh my God, Sean! No, this
where I am now.
Not the advice I give.
No. It's it worked out great. Everything went well for a couple of weeks after that.
Then 9/11 happened.
I'm trying to remember. I don't know if it might have
It had. Really?
After that, yeah.
There's no way that they were filming something in like October, November.
It might have been in 2002. And the reason I say that is because 2001 is when I did a lot of like, I had gone to the Aspen Comedy Festival and I got Conan and I got like, it was a very hot time.
Up.
Yeah. And, it's been a fucking rough road since then, but,
you're doing okay.
All right. Parting shots. Here's my thing. Very brief. I went shopping the other night at a supermarket called Trader Joe's, and I don't know if you're familiar.
No.
With
the cookies keep getting recalled or whatever.
Well, yes. There's always like mercury in the chocolate chips or something. But so it was a Friday night. It was like 8:00 on Friday night, and that shows you how my social schedule goes. But they always want to talk to you at Trader Joe's, and I know.
Oh, right. That's like the business model.
Yeah. So this guy's like, "How's your Friday night going?" And I was like,
"Not so good."
Okay. I mean, no big plans, my friend. And he was like, "Yeah, me too. I'm going to keep it cool tonight. The only way my Friday night might be weird is if somebody comes up to me and just punches me in the face."
You're like, are you asking me to?
Yeah, that's right. I was like, I can do that, and I just thought that was such a weird direction to go in the conversation of like, will you commit physical violence on me to spice up my
so I could feel something?
Yeah, Fight Club. I just want to feel something. All right. Well, that's our show. Do you have anything you want to add before we go?
Nope.
I want to go to a Korean spa now.
You should.
It's just something like there were people I knew years ago who were always like, "We're going to the Korean spa. We're going to be there," and they would go for like 7 hours at a time.
Totally.
But I have never tried it, so maybe one of these days I'll go down. I feel like there's a big one right across the street from Dynasty Typewriter.
That's where I went.
Oh, okay.
That's where I went. That's the big one.
Now I know. So I could stop by the theater and see Jamie, and then go to the Korean. Jamie, want to come to the Korean spa?
Want to go
get naked?
That would be so cute.
Let's send a selfie to the Facebook group.
No, there's like a strict no cameras. Like there's signs everywhere, which I actually really appreciate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because otherwise people would just be constantly photographed.
Well, like if you took a selfie and there's naked people behind you. Like...
Sorry, sir. I'm in the middle of it. Yeah. Folks, this has been The Long Shot. It is a podcast. Please smash the subscription and put on the likes and comments. Yeah. I feel like I would like to know how many people are familiar with the mad Hungarian Al Hrabowski from the 1970s.
I feel like our listeners are.
I think he was on the Detroit Tigers, but I'm not sure. And tune in next week and see how it went when we were not here during that time.
Bye.
We'll see you next time. Now I just have to hit this thing. God damn it, where is it?
Oh no. How does it move?
It does. It's the button is not there.
You're stumbling again, kinda like somebody else. When I lose both my hands, then I'll maybe have reason to doubt that I'll hold you again. And maybe you won't seem so sure that I'm missing my skin, because my skin is still missing yours. And you're stumbling